You know, this tax reform bill has really been causing a lot of argument, a lot of agreement and disagreement between all these politicians. So because of that, I just want you to take your time, listen to this video, reaction from Dr. Abati and Rufai Oseni on Arise News over the Senate President's statement. Senate President said people should not listen, Nigerians should not listen to social media again and again. They should not listen to Arise News because of the statement Charles made. That Charles said the tax reform bill has been suspended. So meanwhile, before Senate President made that statement that nobody should listen, Nigerians should not listen to Arise News again, he did not realize that the statement why Charles said the bill has been suspended, it was one of their senators who made the comment because of the language, English he used. Probably he do not understand the English language, or the Senate President himself did not even take time to listen to that one before making this statement. Now they realize that the problem was from there before saying they should not listen to Arise News. Are they going to apologize or come back to tell Nigerians to continue listening to Arise News that they are doing a good job? Just take your time, listen to this so that you see where the mistake is from.
Tax reform bills, nor was it cowed by external forces to have the bills withdrawn. According to the Senate, the tax bills are still alive in the hands of its Committee on Finance, adding that it only set up the 10-man ad hoc committee to liaise with the Attorney General and Minister of Justice on the tax bills. Arise correspondent Omo Bazwaye tells us more.
On Thursday, Senate Leader Opeyemi Bamidele took a swipe at Arise News report, saying that contrary to what he reported, the Senate did not suspend the tax bills. According to Opeyemi, the tax bills are alive in the Senate and there are no intention to suspend or have them withdrawn.
We have just passed our votes and proceedings, which is a reflection of our deliberations of the previous legislative day, being yesterday. Nowhere in our votes and proceedings was it stated that we suspended further deliberations on the tax reform bill, because we did not. And I felt it would be important to place on record that this Senate did not suspend or withdraw. I will address that later, sir. This Senate did not suspend and does not intend to suspend deliberations, consideration of the tax reform bills.
Opeyemi's statement seemed to contradict what Barrow had said the previous day.
It's on this note that the Committee on Finance that the bills have been referred to should halt action on public hearing and other issues until we resolve these issues.
Let it not be said anywhere that we suspended further consideration of these bills. And also, it would be laughable for anybody to also think or say or report that the bills were withdrawn. Because like I said, there are executive bills that can only be withdrawn by the executive.
However, on the Rise Prime Time interview with Nasarawa State Governor Abdullahi Sule, there was a misconception of a withdrawal of the tax bills.
The Senate appears to have bowed to pressure, and President Tinubu's controversial tax reform bill has been withdrawn and any further legislative action on it has been suspended.
The Governors Forum and the National Economic Council have picked holes in the tax bills. At plenary on Thursday, Senate said it could not be bullied and would not bow to any external pressure.
If the Senate governor or any stakeholder in Nigeria, where no matter whether the person is a religious leader or a businessman that has problem with the bill, you know where to go to. Public hearing. The Senate will not be bullied.
He said all he did with the 10-man ad hoc committee set up on Wednesday is in continuation of his legislative actions on the tax bills.
You can't imagine what it means for multiplicity of taxes to be abrogated. You can't imagine what it means for people who earn less than the minimum wage or even minimum wage not to pay tax. Yeah, so the exemptions are such that up to 100 million Nigerians will benefit from these tax reform bills. So let's not listen to social media. Let's not listen to Arise Television. And I hope they are well guided with the explanation of the Senate leader.
But barely 24 hours after it established the Committee on Tax Reform Bills, headed by Senate Minority Leader Abba Moro, Senate is drawn into a conflict of interest over the composition of the ad hoc committee after the Senate Chief Whip, Mohammed Mongunu, in a letter to the Senate leader, asked to be the chairman of the committee, being the most ranking principal officer in the panel. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, turns down the request, saying it's even an error to have Mongunu or indeed any other principal officer in the committee in the first place.
We should delete or replace the name of Senator Mohammed Tahir Mongunu with the name of Senator Kagashehu to represent the Northeast interests. And then we should delete 3B11, including principal officers.
Akpabio subsequently corrected another error made by Barrow when he removed Mongunu from the tax committee, replaced him with Senator Shehu Kaka, also from Borno State. Omo Bazwaye. Arise News.
Thank you for that report, Omar. So, Arise made its name to the Senate yesterday. Conversation on the tax
with due
bill.
respect,
Right?
since we have been able to show the video now of Jibrin Barau, will the uncommon Senate president now go ahead to apologize after defaming and say don't listen to Arise News when they were at fault? Because I'm obviously sure that he didn't watch Jibrin Barau and everything is halted. When you use the word halted, what does it mean? There's a stoppage, there's a suspension. That's what halt means. Or probably the uncommon senator is a lawyer, so you should understand the essence of English language when they say halt of something. And before you start picking holes in Arise TV, we do our job very brilliantly here, and you can't deny the fact. And that's why we are constantly on your lips every time, as you politicians. We hold you accountable on this table. It has to be said. The truth has to be said. It's any bow to pressure. Let's stop deceiving ourselves. We live on self-deceit in this country. Self-deceit is like a drug that we take to live. It bow to pressure. That's why Jibrin Barau said we're going to halt things. This was the same bill that they were saying they were pushing to public hearing. Why didn't they go ahead with public? Why did they set up this ad hoc committee? For what? And we have made the argument here that we might not support President Tinubu on everything, but on this bill he got it right. And we felt they should have gone to the public hearing and had the conversation. We stated here that even if they had 50 public hearings, it would still result in the same thing. Most of all the issues are clear, especially on the taxes, even for the companies. Do you know the surprising thing that happened? That's you and Dr. Abati yesterday. Some lawmaker brought up a bill trying to say that companies should not pay income taxes, base taxes, when they incur losses, which is also a provision of this tax bill that we've been talking about. So it means that we are all in consonance. But they bow to pressure, and that's why those decisions were taken by Barau. But I'm sure Akpabio has now come back to bring a strong stance and say, no, we're not going to listen to one Barau. So what he should have done, rather than blame Arise TV, is to blame his colleague Barau that called for the halting, not Arise TV. It's not our problem. So please, the position, even if you turn me 150 times, I will stay constant, because the truth is constant. This bill is a good bill. All the provisions there that we've talked about and also, they are good for this country. And it is something we should support. If there are gray areas, the gray areas will also emanate when we use them. The taste of the pudding is in the eating. The taste of the akara is when you eat the akara. So if we do not use this bill, how are we going to know those gray areas? So it should be passed. That's just it. And I'm happy that the Senate is waking up to this. And that 10-man ad hoc committee, they'll be able to do their report on time and pass all of that around. And please, like I asked yesterday, Mr. Abamoro, I would like to see the document of the angst these lawmakers have against this bill. We must see their documents and their bullet points empirically to be able to assess it. Probably when you look at it, it's just going to be based on sentiment and politics. No real substantial technical angst as regards the bill. Let's not play politics because it suits us in the interest of national development. Look at the companies that suffer. All right. And yield the floor.
Okay, two basic things. The Senate President and the Majority Leader, Senator Amidele, both saying we cannot be bullied, we're doing our work, we have not suspended the consideration of the bills. But at the same time, I think the big problem is the conflicting messages, the mixed messaging that is coming from the National Assembly. Is it not the case that we've been told that, the House of Reps had suspended, hearings, consideration of this bill for some period, and then they will come back to it, not that they abandoned it? Is it not the case also that the Deputy Senate President, I think on Tuesday, said that work was being halted, to allow for more consultation? And then these two leaders of the Senate President and the Senate Majority Leader, then turn around and say, we are doing our work, we should be allowed to do our work, we are acting in the public interest and all of that. But it was the Senate President, I think, that went overboard to say, don't listen to social media, don't listen to Arise News. Well, to put the defense of Arise News properly, we are also doing our work. Our work under Section 22 of the 1999 Constitution, which deals with the media, holding government accountable, which is the original jurisdiction of the media as the fourth estate of the realm. And also under Section 39, which deals with the freedom of expression. If there is anything that is out there, it is based on what is out there, and it is the job of the media to inform the people, to explain to the people. The Senate President, being a lawyer, ought to be familiar with these sections of the Constitution. So to say don't watch Arise News, that in fact is bullying. He says the media is bullying him, social media is bullying him, and he too has adopted the tactics of bullying. The other thing, of course, is that whatever comment that may have been made in the public domain is, in line with what is called fair comment, to the extent that the National Assembly itself has invited, reactions from the general public. And that reaction, whatever form it comes, it is for the National Assembly to consider them. But to say that, whatever is in the interest of the administration and in the public interest, we will do it. The Senate President says up to 100 million Nigerians will benefit from these 4 tax bills. How did he arrive at that figure of up to 100 million Nigerians going to benefit? Because data is part of the challenge. All of them have been saying, we are relying on data, we are relying on data. When I asked Taiwo Yedele, how did you calculate this data? How did you arrive at it to determine that it will ensure fairness, equity, and justice? He sidestepped the question. It's not enough to just talk about data or to say we are being bullied. This is a matter of interest to Nigerians. And in that regard, I recommend, for general reading, an article on the back page of this day newspaper today by Mohammed Bello Adoke, former Attorney General of the Federation, titled Much Ado About Tax Reforms. And in that piece, the piece is divided into parts. It talks about salient points that have been raised, all those points that the Senate leaders have been referring to, how businesses, persons running businesses of between 50,000 and 70,000 will benefit, how, there will be tax waiver for certain categories, how small businesses will be exempted, and how the whole purpose of this reform is to streamline, the tax regime in Nigeria. The article now goes further to then identify specific aspects that will need to be considered. So the public hearing has started. Adoke, for example, was arguing about imposing a tax administration burden on the public, because going forward, in one of the clauses in that bill, tax administration bill, you must have a tax ID to be able to even open a bank account. One of the things I saw in that article was the writer saying that, in fact, the president has been given broad powers over taxation. Why should any one individual have such broad powers? He says also that the interests of businesses may not have been fully taken into account. And then there is also the issue about administration formula. This issue about derivation, production, and consumption. These are clear areas, that Nigerians need to be looked to. Nigerians need to look into. And the Senate President and this majority leader should not assume that when people, express their views, is an attempt to intimidate or to bully the National Assembly. All of us are interested in the public interest, in the common good. And the people who are expressing these concerns, we are probably more in the majority than the 109 members of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I don't see the issue about cabling. Nigerians will raise questions. Those questions must be paid attention to. It's not enough to say, if it is in the interest of the public, if it is in the interest of the administration. The people themselves will determine what is in their interest. It's for the lawmakers to listen and take appropriate action, in my view.
Well, I believe that report by Omobazwaye laid a lot of things to rest, because from the horse's mouth, as it were, we heard when the Deputy Senate President said that they were going to halt actions on the proceedings for debating on the bill. And so we're well within our rights as well to ask questions. Yesterday, posed to Senator Abamoro, who is chairing that committee, 10-man committee, that be liaising with the federal government as to the reasons behind that, why, and raise awareness about that. And so that puts that to rest. The information is out there. You heard it. It wasn't reported speech. It was right there, and we've aired it there. Now, just to say that even though our position had been, at least my position had been, that it was important to take this bill forward because it was in the best interest of Nigerians. This opportunity for dialogue, further conversation, would then help to hopefully enlighten all stakeholders on these tax reform bills, and then hopefully even flesh out and bring out the nitty-gritty of it and some of the areas of concern that people have raised. Again, maybe it's another opportunity for us to spotlight our challenges in the area of data and how the unavailability of data impacts on policy making, policy direction, and being able to create laws like this. Absolutely important. But I'm hoping that people will not be sentimental, but rather look at the merit and the details of this bill to make informed decisions as to the way forward. There are too many benefits that we have enumerated a number of times here on this show, so I won't go again on it. You can watch episodes where we had an interview with Mr. Taiwo Yedele, conversations we've had here, just talking about it. So at the end of the day, we're looking forward to that feedback from the meeting with the committee and the Attorney General of the Federation. And what next? Public hearings, where will they be? Information for the public to actually know where it's happening and be able to air their voices, air their opinions, and ensure that everyone's voice is represented. From the north to the south, to the east to the west, every Nigerian's voice is represented, and what is best in the best interest of Nigeria is what actually takes precedence.